And here to help me explain the process is Mr. François Pradel of Campus France, Paris. François is manager of research programs and promotion at Campus France, Paris. He's been working for the last 20 years in international cooperation for education, culture, science, and academic relationships. He was previously the head of the French Cultural Center at Heliopolis, Cairo, the head editor of Le Français dans le Monde review, and has held academic cooperation positions for Le Crous and Campus France with ex-USSR and CEI countries, and has also been the academic and scientific attaché at the French Embassy to Kuwait. Thank you for being with us today, François.
Thanks. Happy to meet you online.
We will start our session with a small Q&A with François and end with a live demonstration of the doctoral catalog website, so please stick around for that. First thing first, though, why do your PhD in France? France is a very research-oriented country. And just to share with you a few statistics, the annual spend on research activities in France is approaching about 50 billion euros yearly. That means we are home to about 71,000 PhD candidates at any given time, of which about 40% are international students. This means we are the third largest host nation for foreign researchers. This level of state support and investment equates to some very impressive results. French educated researchers have won 65 Nobel Prizes to date, 13 Fields Medals, and have led to the country holding the 4th position in the world for publication impact. Today, we will talk about how you too can benefit from this and become a researcher in France. So my first question to François, perhaps the biggest question a candidate for a PhD will face, is the funding aspect of the doctoral project. What would be your advice for a student when she is researching for a project in France vis-a-vis funding? What are the most likely resources to consult?
Yes, thanks for your question. On the in fact, there is many possibilities, but it needs time just to check all possibilities. Usually, when you have a PhD in science, you want to make a PhD in science. I speak about experimental and art sciences. When you have to answer to an offer, and the offer includes the finance. I can show you some example, or we'll discuss about that, but usually they propose a PhD thesis and you have to answer on to be selected, but the finance is there, at least partly. And if you have part of the finance by the laboratory, it's easier to find another part of the science. There is the other possibilities. You do your PhD with a company, with a business company, that they finance research. Because today, 60% of the funding of research is in the private sector. So you can make your PhD with a laboratory, with a company, and with your PhD laboratory, And at this time, it will be paid fully by the companies. So this is the CIF PhD. And the most difficult is for students in human sciences and literature, because at this time you don't have to answer to a proposal, but you have to find the finance. It can be part from university and laboratory, but sometimes you have to complete with the French embassy, with the Indian government, with a lot of people. My first advice is not to begin by finance, even if you have to find, is to begin to find your PhD director thesis, because it will be the best advice to find the complementary of your scholarship. So my best advice is ask to your, when you are selected as an excellent student, because only excellent students can afford to have a PhD. At this time, you ask to find complementary finance from some other source, governmental, private, and sometimes it can be also scholarship like we make for Eiffel or MOPGA, Make Our Planet Great Again, but we'll speak about that after. So my first advice is contact your director. If there's not a fully financed by the laboratory, maybe I think this is the following question about timeline, but it needs maybe until 1 year to find all the components, because nowadays, the scholar is compulsory by the new law from the French government, LPR, La Loi Programmation Recherche, and you need to have 2,000 euro gross salary, means 1,600 euro
Yes.
fair salary. It will be close 1,700 euro fair salary, because every year it will be so it is important. Even in France, it's important.
So yes, coming to the timeline that you talked about, what would be the expected timeline for a PhD project? When, or rather, how early should the students start preparing for integration into the same? Does this timeline differ, as you said, for subjects like basic sciences or human sciences?
I will tell you from the beginning, when you enter university, you need to focus if I want to go until PhD or if I want to stop in bachelor or master. So the project, and the most important is not the finance. The finance is the way, the mean, but it's not the project. The project is what you want to do, and you have to focus about what is the most interesting field I can develop and I can make research advance by my research, and in which network. And you have to focus not only about finance, but only about the PhD director I will get in France or in India, or in France and in India, and we'll speak about that after. How it can help me after to have a place at university as a professor, how it can help me to have a place in a big company as an expert and researcher, how it can help me to have a place in some place here, but I will have the title of PhD, So as a doctor, I can have better remuneration and better salary, considering my expertise. So, all these points are important. And even you have to choose your subject with the good university and the good PhD director. So there are many things you have to think about, because we have a lot of doctors that cannot follow their research after their PhD. So it means you have to have a plan, not only about funding, but about your subject and what you will do after. To find a PhD is like to find a work. It's not only studying, it's your first work, your first work as a researcher. So you have to take care about the salary, but you have to take care mainly about what I will do after, why I choose this university, what is my goal after my PhD when I will finish it.
So you mentioned previously a little bit about some other funding in the form of scholarships. For example, we have the MOCPA, as you said, the Make Our Planet Great Again initiative, but we also have Eiffel from the French government. So let's talk a little bit about the state support. For the benefit of our audience, could you share some light on these? What is the MOCPA? What is Eiffel?
I can share my screen, but I think we can say that Make Our Planet Great Again program today is a program for post-PhD, for a young researcher. 5 years, young researcher, it means 5 years after the end of your PhD, after the defense, because we have, every PhD in France have an oral defense. It's not the case in Australia. You just give your PhD and that's it. In France, it's a kind of ritual, a kind of ceremony that you will remember all your life, because you will be very shy. And there's a lot of tension and emotion after so much work and so much hard work, to be in front of your professors that will, and this is the moment you will be considered, the last moment you will be considered as a student, and after you will be considering as one of the professors. When you finish your PhD, you come by the status of student to the students. Now you are a colleague, you are no more a student, and they will not speak the same. So it's something important. So young researchers for Make Our Planet Great Again about renewable energy, Earth, but also social impact of environmental issues and so on. You can find on the web, on Campus France website, is 1 year finance, 2,500 euro for young researchers. We have a lot from India on very good researchers and very good research from India, and we have. Tomorrow is a commission for the next group of PhD young researcher. We'll make the selection tomorrow. We have 250 applications that are okay, and we'll select 40 researchers with 2,500 euro a month. I speak about Moderator because we are chatting with, we have negotiation with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to open next year Make Our Planet Great Again for PhD students. And I ask them because They don't know if it will be FL or MOBGA, but I asked them, I think it will be good to finance 3 years, not to finance 1 year and a half, because when you are in your PhD, you have no time to look for financing, you know. Everything should be done before. So I prefer we select less students, but for full scholarship, than more students for half scholarship. So this is a discussion, and it will be part of MOBGA program or FL. FL program, if I can explain you very shortly, FL program is a program that finance, especially sectors, you know, that are not easy to be financed by a PhD, for a PhD. So it's a 12 months, 18 months scholarship as part of the joint thesis or co-direction. It will promote mobility of excellent PhD students on 2 major fields, science and technology in one end, and human sciences, human and social sciences on the other end. And for science and technology, it means biology and health, ecological, mathematical, and digital transition, engineering sciences. And for human and social sciences, it means history, French language, civilization, law and political sciences, economics and management. So this is the field, and the monthly scholarship is of 1,700 euros. So it is good because it is a fair salary. They finance the travel from India to France and France to India, go on back. Insurance, which is very important. If you have any disease, you are taken in charge in 100% or 95%, you know. Cultural activities on tour in France, assistance for accommodation, and so on. And we have about 1,200 FL doctorate laureates since 2005. What else about the funding? You know, you have also some PhD scholarship from the French embassy in France. And I don't know about the help of the Indian government, but there are also possibilities at this level to have some help from the Indian government. But also you can ask for some French companies who are working with India, who are interested to have high qualified Indian students to employ them at their return, if they can give an help, you know, because it can be shared also.
Another major question is the point of recognition. For a student who has completed a master's degree in India, it's not recommended to apply directly to a PhD in all instances. So rather, they're advised to complete an M2 program for a French university. Could you share your thoughts on that? Like, why would that be the case?
Yes, you're right. You know, either, you know, you are an excellent student, you are in relation with a French laboratory, and they are agreed to take you as a student, you know, and usually it will be in art sciences, you know. At this time, you know, maybe you can go direct from master degree to PhD, because you know what you want, and they know they want you. So if you know that someone wants you in France, you know, because you have relation before at your master degree with some French universities, you can go, and it's really possible, you know. I will share my screen just to show you, you know, the kind of offers we have on research portal in Campus France, you know. Yes, that's here. You can see here we have an offer, inhibition of bacterial conjugation. This is biology from Lorraine University. They ask to have a A2 level in French. So you don't need to speak French. You need to speak fluent in English. It's biology and health, but this is chemistry. If you go on this to find if there is the finance, you know, and you check the offer, because we have 1,300 offers online now, mainly about PhD, you know, you can have all the description and skills required on funding. And when they said funding type ANR, it means this is fully funded by the laboratory, the National Research Agency. So on this offer from, I suppose, Nancy University of Lorraine, you don't have to take care about the finance. It will be fully funded by the laboratory. But you have to be selected. And the level of French A2 is easy, I think, you know, in maybe 2 intensive months, you know, any student can get the level in French. It's survival level, you know, and Indian students are excellent, and we know that they are excellent. So usually when you come from India, you know, laboratories know that you have excellent scientists and we want to have a collaboration with them. This is just an example, you know, I can give you all the link after the web to share with the students. What I want to just to tell you, you know, here, maybe the laboratory considers that you ever worked on this field of bacterial conjugation. I don't know anything about that. I'm coming from political sciences, history, and economics. But, you know, maybe it's possible. But usually, if you don't know, you are accepted, you know. Even if you have a master's degree, I speak especially in human sciences, in law, in maybe physicals. You want this university, you know, Paris-Saclay University is very difficult to get. And last week, I was chatting with the head of PhD studies at Paris-Saclay University. We have a meeting in Angers and we discussed. And all they said that, yes, we prefer to take our students from foreign students in our universities that foreign students, we don't know their level. Because, you know, marks are like cooking, which is 95% in one university might be 50% in another university. You know, that it's difficult, you know, to exactly know what means the result and the efficiency of one student by the marks. You need to know his personality. And usually they are more keen to select foreign students from their master in the university than from other university from abroad, because it's like a blind test in a way. So they want to avoid this blind test. Either there is a cooperation between Kolkata universities and Paris-Saclay University, and we know that there is an agreement, and we know that the students are part of the agreement and can have their mobility inside the agreement because there are academic relations. So you can go directly for PhD at this time. But if there is no cooperation between the French university and your university, I highly advise to make a master 2 in the French university you focus, to cruise about the PhD professor, because there will be many students, but to focus on him, you know, and to take the class of his master, just to make another year of master. It will not be lost, because 3 years is very short. Most of the students, they finish their PhD in 4 years.
They don't
so
actually
consider that to make another year of master is just to have a 4 years for your PhD, which is not a lux when you're coming from abroad, because there is French rules you will know little by little, you know.
Yes, so and even then in India, the PhD is actually 5 years. So they're even then still saving 1 year.
So not to make a full master, but just the second year of master, option research, and to say that you are a candidate in this master because you want to follow in the same university with this field and this professor for a PhD. And it will be taken as a sign of modesty, maybe, but a sign of big motivation. That I know that I need maybe 4 years to make my PhD, and my master, the subject of my PhD will be the subject of my master. So I will get 1 year more. And it will be a big help for financing the 3 other years, because you will have, the forest will not be the jungle, you know, as usual, you are in the jungle and you can discover little by little who are the trees and animals that will be part of your PhD at this time.
So the website that you have open on your screen, this is, by the way, the same website we will be covering.
This is the research, you know, you have,
yes.
You know, I just take, there is a French and English version. If you see, you know, on this, you can have, we have maybe a lot of news. I will just go further. You know, all information from Campus France, you know, all information from the list of doctoral schools. And this is important for you, you know, because when you focus on this, this is English version, you know, I was speaking about 99 in Paris. You can find around Bordeaux, Bretagne, near Marseille and Nice, near Toulouse, you know, down. So you click here, you know, Strasbourg, which is a very good one, and you have all the doctoral schools for different fields. Here you have 22, and you can see with domain and field, you know, I don't know, biology and health. You have 3 PhD doctoral schools in Strasbourg University, one in Nancy, one in Strasbourg, one in Reims. So you click here and you can select. Yeah, and then you can select, you know, the one you is interested. And you can see at Lorraine, Nancy University, they have 21 offers, but only one in Strasbourg in life and health sciences. So this is the way, you know, I advise the students just to go in this kind of
web. So we will do a walkthrough of this website in about 10 minutes. But before that, just for our audience, this is obviously the primary school, the primary tool, the doctoral site that's maintained by Campus France. But are there any other tools that our audience should be aware of in search of their PhD programs?
Yes, other tools, there is Campus Bourse.
Yes.
By instance, I will go on the English version. Type of grant study, because it's study. You're a student, as a PhD student, even if it's a work on your researchers. But before you get your PhD, you are still a student. When you get your PhD, you are no more a student, you are a colleague, and you are a researcher. Level PhD, subject area, I don't know, let's say biology. Nationality, Indian, so Asia, India. So I focus all of that, and they will take me 20 possibility of grants for a student, for study PhD in biology for an Indian student. Scholarship from the French government, but also student leave, 4th year of PhD. This is for a 4th year of PhD. There are some possibilities to finance the 4th years. You can find, Eiffel, we speak about, Erasmus Plus scholarship, Science for a Changing Planet in Lille. So I think it's possible for Lille, but not for some other. You can see here PhD for pharmacy, program to increase the mobility of students from German university. I don't think it's for Indian, but we don't know. There are some Indian in Germany. They can make master in Germany and PhD in France. Lebanese students, they used to study secondary schools in France, in French. After they make bachelor in America, they come back for PhD in France. Doctorate, sandwich. So there are some few possibilities, and you can see, like that. The other things, that I was looking about is about master. If you want to know what is the master that will fit the more to your PhD, you can search by the field of study, by instance. We see biology here, all, and I have 391, possibility to find a master engineering here. I can go until here, but I can focus, about cell biology, and there will be 8 possibility of master in cell biology. So it's really easy, and I think this is another sub tools that can help. The grants, master, if you want to have a 4th year for your PhD, but mainly the research program, the research portal that will give you all the information.
For the record, for our audience, the websites that we covered today were doctorate, doctorat.campusfrance.org. That's the main doctoral website. We will run a walkthrough of that soon. But the one for bourses that Francois shared, that one can be accessed at campusbourses.campusfrance.org. So that's campusbourses.campusfrancealtogether.org. And for the master's programs, we have a specialized portal just in English. You can access it at taught.ie, that means taught in English, taught.ie.campusfrance.org. But just before we do the walkthrough, I have one final question for Francois, which is the unique model of the co-tutel PhDs in France, where the student is both employed by a company and paid to pursue research at the same time. So, Francois, could you please explain how this model works for our audience and the benefits for them to go down this route?
Yes, maybe I will share some slides very shortly, with you about co-tutel. I think you can see, a PhD is an agreement between the laboratory. I speak about different types of PhD. Usually, a PhD is 3 years in France. It's an agreement between laboratory, university, and a thesis director. And you get 1 French degree. This is a simple PhD. The other possibility is a co-direction. You have 2 thesis directors, one in India, one in France. But you will get only a French degree, even if you are 2 thesis directors to follow your research. On the joint doctorate here, you have 2 thesis directors, 2 universities, by instance, Paris-Saclay and Kolkata University, 2 countries, France and India, and you will get 2 degrees in one time. It's 1 stone, you make 2 shots, 2 shots in 1 stone. And just to go, in the details of the joint thesis, yes, the joint thesis is an agreement between 2 universities. It's not only an agreement with the students or 2 professors. It's an agreement between 2 universities on behalf of the French embassy. because usually the French embassy, they want to give more scholarship for joint thesis. This is the king way, in a way. The doctoral student has 2 thesis director, the Convention Institute for Mobility of 3 years. And you have sometimes scholarship for mobility, 3 months mobility in India from France, language defense. And both universities, they give their doctoral degree. You will be doctor of Kolkata University and Paris-Saclay University at the same time. And at the thesis defense, now it's more online, but usually, you have the professor have to travel from Calcutta to Paris just to make the oral defense for the French and the Indian team together, that we'll discuss together about the criteria, about the value of your PhD. And the other possibility with the private sector, I told you about SIF, this is a work contract fully financed by the company. And at this time, you can have finance from the company and maybe get an employment after with the company. So the joint PhD is an agreement between 2 universities on behalf of the French embassy that will give mainly scholarship for mobility, for 3 months mobility. And don't think that Indian students are coming after French students. Because if your field concerns something that is in India, if your field of study is in India, the French don't know so much about India, and they need Indian students to tell them more about the knowledge that they can bring from their country. So we need you. A lot of PhD will not be possible without Indian students, and India is very well considered in France because we have a lot of scientists to come and make the bridge between our countries, bridge for science, but bridge for politics, academics, and diplomatic relations.
Thank you, François, for those encouraging words and for that enlightening session. We will now move on to a small demonstration of the portal that François had previously showed you. I'm going to share my screen for that. Please bear with me a moment. Yes, so I assume the screen is visible right now. So this is the website, and this is how you can access it at doctorate. That's the French spelling, which is same as the English spelling, just without the E at the end. So doctorate.campusfrance.org. And if you go to this website, and if it's in French, you can simply switch it right here to English. But when you do that, there's 2 ways to use this website. I'm going to show you the first and most painless way to find projects that are already funded that you can directly integrate into, and you can click on subjects for that. So here, this is not just for PhDs, by the way. If you are students who are at the 3rd or the 4th year of their engineering or basic sciences program, you could, for example, integrate into a master internship. And there are none posted at the moment, but you could, for example, select master internship at the category and find internships in engineering or something, and and then approach your home institution if they will allow you to do your requisite internship in France for 3 months. You could have click on doctorate, for which is basically the major type. So we have 1,237 doctorate programs currently open for subscription, but also postdoctoral programs. Okay, so these are the programs of which we have 25. So the filters here are quite powerful, and I encourage you to find them through the main categories. But of course, you could search it by domain. You could search it by any sort of keywords. But let's just pick, for example, what we have. The first one. This one is in electrical, optical, and biophysics and engineering. The application deadline for this is 30th of June. And if you wanted more information on it, for example, if you click on this right now, we'll wait for the site to load to get more information on how to apply. And here it is. You will have the deadline, the level of French required, and a description of the project, and you can click here to connect or register. Let me go back and look at another program which has a little bit more detail in it. So for example, the first one, which is at the University of Lorraine, this one is in the field of dynamic genomes and microbial adaptation. So this, it will consist of a short description of the project and the skills required. The funding type would be mentioned, and sometimes the funding amount would also be mentioned. So I should mention here that the funding amount for a PhD program in France ranges from around 1,200 to about 1,800 euros, which is considered quite a livable wage. And of course, the level of French required in most cases would be 0, but in this case, as Francois pointed out earlier, it's an A2, which is a very basic level of French, which you can obtain at any Alliance Française or even in France with about 2 or 3 months of studies. The level of English required is quite high. That's a C2, which would be equivalent to a very fluent English. And if you want to apply for this project, this is where you click to register and apply. So this is how you use our PhD portal. So you can use that for any domains, and you can search by different keywords for like artificial intelligence or molecular biology, any sort of keywords which correspond to your level of interest. So let's now look at another project, for example, which has been posted here. So this one is in the domain of social sciences. For example, they have the skills required right here, what sort of person they're looking to integrate into the course. The funding type, it's a doctoral contract you will have with the institution, and the application deadline and the duration, which in most cases would be about 3 years. Now, let's look at the second way you can use this website. So instead of subjects, if you click on doctoral schools directory, for example, this is the website doesn't look like it has changed, but it has, because right now, if you select by keywords or even by a topic, let's say we go for something like ecology, okay? You will not find the programs listed as such. What you will find instead are the doctoral schools. So whether they have any offers currently running, like the top 5 I can see, or not, like University of Toulouse or Paris Sciences et Lettres, the information on the doctoral schools will always be available here. So think of it like a phone directory of doctoral schools that you can contact. And how will you find the information of the people to contact? Well, you can just click on, let's say, basic sciences at the University Clermont-Auvergne. This is in physics and chemistry, and we'll just click on it and wait for their page to open up. Yeah, so this is the disciplines of basically their areas of research, and you can see that the French level required is mostly none, and they will always mention the possibility to use English as a working language or to submit or defend your thesis in English. And there is the welcome services, but most importantly, the contact information of the administrator of the doctoral school here. So we can see that currently they have about 145 PhD students registered with them. And if you wanted to send your motivation letter, if you wanted to send a resume, this is the email address where you can contact, and this is the page where you can click on to find more information on the doctoral school. That's it from me. This is the website that you can access. I'm going to stop sharing the screen now and go back to a few words if you want to share. Francois?
Yes, just I was starting to asking, there are many questions in the chat. On more answer, more there is question,
We have,
I'm very happy because all questions in the chat are very focused and very interesting. So there is one question. I said there is one student who say, can someone apply for PhD after the 10 years leaving the university? Yes, it's possible. And sometimes it's even better. I speak about PhD with a company that if you have a professional or research experience and you want to follow in your PhD, it can be a big sign of motivation that you are a mature student. You are not just a new one coming. So it can be, but you have to valorize the 10 years experience you get on why you need to come back by your PhD for another position at university or in business. I think companies are very much interested by this profile of student.
So we could take the next 5-10 minutes to answer a few of our audience questions, because we seem to be getting quite a few of them and we have some time. One of the questions that I can see has to do with the language requirement. And perhaps, Francois, you can jump on this as well, because what would be, if they use English as a working language, for example, do the student needs to provide any English?
No, I would say you can do everything in English, but architecture, but law, except international and European law, but I answer this question in the chat. You can do social sciences, human sciences, it needs French. Architecture, it needs French. Medicine, it needs French, not fully, not B2, but B1 level, just because in medicine, you know, when you make a third cycle in medicine, and it's possible to make a PhD in medicine in France, you need to discuss with the patient. And most of them, they don't speak English and they don't speak Hindu, or, you know. So, so it's necessary, but we have many doctors, you know, from all over the world. Where it's French literature for sure, but usually you can study economics, engineering, science, biology, health, everything. But political sciences also in English, you know. It's only human sciences like history, geography, literature, arts that need French.
Another interesting question that I see here, which I think we touched on a little bit in our panel, is what is the criteria for selection? Like, does it vary for students depending on the field of interest? Like, are there any mandatory selection criteria?
You should be an excellent student first. You should have a subject that will interest your laboratories. Before to propose a subject, I speak about human sciences, because you see in art sciences, they propose a subject and you answer. You have to see that you understand the subject. So to get some information about the specialty of this laboratory to another one, what they make, what they have published, to know what has been published on the field and how you can complete or give some other publication. If you published some articles, you know, in good review, this is a good point, because usually researchers evaluate themselves by publication. So if you have some publication, at least at your master thesis, you know, and you make one paper, it marks a difference. If you have many collaboration, you know, with some French laboratories, it might help also, or European or American, you know. But if you are ever internationalized by your research, if you participate to symposium, international symposium, it might help also. I'll tell you some criteria, but each university has its own criteria. And I think if they are more interested by India and by your field of research, and they know they want to develop their knowledge on this field, this is the first criteria.
And also another thing which is about a feedback from one thing we just shared today is it possible for foreign students to apply for the joint PhD? I assume that means the co-tutel model. Yes, but you have to ask the embassy what are the universities that have agreement with France for co-tutel of PhD, you know. Usually there are two possibilities. There is an agreement. So you are not a pioneer, but you go in this agreement and you find a place. And if one Indian student succeeds, next year 10 Indian students can come. This is an easy possibility to find agreements between France, French and Indian universities, and to go in this university to make a PhD co-tutel, because it will be easy. The agreement exists. There is no agreement. You develop a research of fields that have never been done before. There is no agreement. You are a pioneer. It will take time, but maybe after years there are tens or hundreds of Indian students and can develop this cooperation. You know, as a PhD student, you are an ambassador of both countries in both sense. So for knowledge, but also this is a bridge, you know, also for our diplomatic and political and economic relations. Thank you, François. I think that's all the time we have today. If you have any questions about the topic of our webinar today, or you'd like to get more information about studying in France and prepare your study plans, we invite you to get in touch with our nearest Campus France office. We have 14 offices across the country, and you can find the one for your region at inde.campusfrance.org. But also, François, yourself, you will also be visiting India.
Yes, there will be a PhD tours in India from 8th to 15th of October, Mumbai, Delhi, Kolkata, Chennai. I've been there before as a tourist, you know, and I spent 3 months in India. I was so happy, but I will be very happy to meet Indian students in first Mumbai, then India. 11th of October, it will be Kolkata, yes. And we'll finish with Chennai. So at this time, if you have some other question, don't hesitate to ask me, but I will be very glad to help you with new information next October in India.
Thank you very much. And our students, please look forward to the models that we'll be sharing on our website, because the communication for the Choose France store will begin in a few months, and we hope to see you again in October. Thank you once again to François for being with us today. And to our audience, we will see you in our very next session at 6 p.m. tomorrow on the topic of health and biology research in France. Make sure you're registered for that.
Yeah, so I've copied the question and send me the one you cannot answer by yourself, and I can find some people, you know, can help to give me the answer. So I see 59 questions. I just answered 10, you know.
Yes. So of course, please get in touch with the Campus France office nearest to you for a more detailed one-to-one session, and we can help you prepare your study plans. Thank you, everyone. Good night.
Bye-bye.